So maybe you make a sketch. What was the initial idea of developing a character, masking yourself as that character, going to the outer world as if the character would be a real person, and then give it free to its meandering through different spaces and mediascapes. So what was the initial thing that you thought then?
Well, it really came out of media rejection because I had an exhibition at the University Art Museum in Berkeley, and I put in a piece that talked. It had sound. It was called Self-Portrait as Another Person, and you walked up to it. It had sensors, and it was me as a black person talking to people that came up. Well, the museum said media is not art, and they took down the entire show. They just wanted drawings, but this to me was a drawing because it was drawing on sound and extension of sound. So then it occurred to me, who needs a museum? I just put up an exhibition in a hotel room called the Dante Hotel after that, where I made a room of somebody that could have lived there. Like it had the books they would read, the clothes they would wear, kinds of things that they would be doing, the artifacts of their life. And from that, I thought, well, why not liberate this construction of a virtual person who's defined in a sense by the negative space of their life, just like the negative space of painting and the negative space of culture that they occupied. So she became kind of an archetype of a composite of an individual who could have lived during those years. And at first I didn't want to perform her myself, but nobody else would do it. So I had to do it in order to start to flesh out the background that I first wrote in the construction of what her identity would be, what her background was, what her sexual experience had been, how she would walk, what her handwriting would be, how she would talk, what her language would be, and then began to have her exist as that being.
So you really developed something like a fictional character that had created its own identity, so to say, but then you relieved it. You gave it into different, so to say, forms of representation.
Yeah. I mean, she really then became, in a sense, you know, through fiction, sometimes you can get at a deeper truth. And her deepest construction was based on the reality in which she lived, that was acted out and performed and documented through her experiences. And you know, that fleshing out took about 7 years until she existed in a full enough form to represent the time.
So what type of character did you have in mind? Was it an average American girl of the period, or?
Yeah, definitely somebody that listened to media and was therefore blonde and wore a lot of makeup. And then really, you know, you had just the beginning of the skeleton, and then I could not really design what would happen to her. I never imagined some of the experiences she would have, the people she would meet. It was her just following that time, and one adventure would lead into another.
So the first was that you really constructed her, that you made something like a fictional outline of her, but then you already started to perform her. Yeah? Yeah. So it was not just a fictionality that you created around her. So what was the idea to really make her live in public space and to make her being, so to say, performing in public space, and then somehow to withdraw into other spaces and to represent that performances?
Well, in order to kind of shed light on the shadow that she represented, she had to have the artifacts of what living through that time was, which meant getting the driver's license, seeing a psychiatrist, having all the elements that people would construct as reality. She was able to get a credit card. I couldn't get a credit card. So in a sense, I mean, if you go back to that time in the 70s, she had more relevance and more authenticity than I did.